if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because it's just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But you know, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good afternoon, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. Today, so it's been a rough week. Let's just put it out there. We haven't had an episode in a while. I think the last episode we did was Borderlands. I have been both sick and busy. So it has been not a great week. It is. We are going to get back on track. I do promise. But I have a few little programming notes to make. Number one, we do know now that Skeleton Crew will be coming out December 3rd. Ordinarily, we talk about Star Wars shows on here, same as any other new TV show that I'm watching, and, that is largely how we do it. The issue is, we are going to be moving that to the backlog, not the backlog files, Exploring Hyperspace Lanes. Why? Because it is a Star Wars show, it's a Star Wars podcast, it makes sense. So we'll be doing weekly episode discussions of that over there. So this Wednesday I'll be putting up my preview, not preview that I've seen it, but my thoughts based on the trailer, and then my thoughts on the Acolyte. So that will be up there, and then we from then on we will be doing any Star Wars show that comes out. What we talked about on Exploring Hyperspace Lanes rather than here, and that goes for animated stuff as well. Just so we continually have a constant stream of content on that stream, even if Josie can't be on. The other thing is, for shows like what's currently ongoing. We currently have Kite Man Hell Yeah ongoing, and Rick and Morty the anime. Both of which we will be talking about. But these are both going to be shows that we talk about in their entirety once the show's run comes to an end. We will do an episode at the beginning, and this will be the way going forward for kind of these comedic non sequitur shows where it's like, look, there may be an overarching plot for the entire season, but episode to episode, they're like a half hour long, so there's not a ton to talk about each week to warrant an entire episode. Rather than doing that, we will be doing an episode at the beginning where we talk about how the season is starting, and then an episode at the end where we talk about what the entire season handled and how well it handled it. That way we're not just flooding the feed for the sake of flooding the feed, and I feel like that's a better way to do it. And that's also what brings us to what we're doing today. Another show that came out weekly, and we're like, let's just wait for it to all come out, and then we'll talk about it all at once. And that show is Smiling Friends Season 2, which is on Adult Swim. And I enjoyed the first season of the show a lot. I think the first season doesn't really have many misses in terms of episodes. I think Season 2 has a few episodes that are kind of misses for me. I really enjoyed the first episode where they have the Banjo-Kazooie style character. That one was really fun. And then immediately it drops off. I did not like the episode with Mr. Frog this time around. The episode with Mr. Frog where he's talking, where he runs for president, and they have the asshole who's running against him. Like, it's interesting to have him blended real person into the animated reality, and I think that they handle that pretty well, and it looks kind of cool. I did not like the episode at all. It felt very much like they're leaning into conspiracy theories that I'm like, in an election year, this doesn't feel like something you should be putting out. I really enjoyed the episode with the two brothers, the mad scientist and the normal guy, um, who looks like a cell-shaded actual person. Like, that episode was great. The episode on the UFO was great. But I think the thing is, I'm not going to be leaving this season as hungry for more as I was. Like, even like the Allen episode was kind of just boring, and the episode where they go to, what's it called? Where they go to the spam area, like even that was kind of boring as well. Like, and if you have boring episodes in a comedy show, that's that's kind of a hit for me. Where I like the old adage was, when you had these 26 episode seasons, you have like a third of them are fantastic, a third of them are passable, and then a third of them aren't great. And if that's going to be the case, then we shouldn't be doing that with shows that are 8 episodes, 10 minutes apiece. Um, and I think that like that is kind of my biggest issue with this. But let's talk about Rick and Morty in this episode. Rick and Morty the anime. But look, starting for season 2, I think if you enjoyed season 1, you will find something to enjoy in season 2 in basically every episode. I think a lot of the episodes do have something fun and engaging about them, even if it is just the way they play with various art styles against each other. Um, but regardless, I think that it's kind of an interesting approach um, to this show. And now let's talk about Rick and Morty the anime. And I don't know what I walked into this expecting. Um, I'm not entirely sure what I was expecting out of this show, and maybe that's on me. Maybe I should have watched the trailer. But at the same time, I should, if it's Rick and Morty as an anime, I should be able to walk into this and be like, okay, I kind of get where we are with this. Like I I think part of it is when I hear Rick and Morty the anime and then think about what Rick and Morty the general TV show is, my thought process is always, you know, I was thinking more of like a space dandy kind of style where it was gonna look more like that, very colorful, very expensive looking animation and all of that. And this didn't have that. And I think it's because the anime style they're going for more is more like the 70s, 80s anime, where it's slow, it's deliberate, it's all of that. Um, and even down to the voice acting, where they sound enough like Rick and Morty, but not exactly. It's kind of an interesting situation they find themselves in with this. To that end, I feel like if you're looking for just more Rick and Morty, I think you are going to be disappointed because it's not that. It's very much not that. This is a whole new take on these existing characters, and it's one of those things where it's like coming from My Adventures with Superman, which is an Adult Swim anime-inspired take on an American IP, and going from that to this, it feels a little bit different. And I think that, like, look, different is fine, but if you're looking for Rick and Morty, you're not going to find it here. And that may be a problem for some people. Some people may bump into that. It's enjoyable enough, and I think that, like, the episode is kind of high concept sci-fi enough that it's interesting. But, like, even things like the dynamic between Rick and Morty is not exactly what you would expect, to the point where you're like, well, why did we do this as Rick and Morty? Why not do it as something else? Like, visually, it looks like Rick and Morty. I'm not taking that away from it. Visually, the show looks like Rick and Morty, and it has all the iconography of Rick and Morty. And I think that the general, like the like I'm engaged enough with this new take where I will continue watching. That said, I don't want to say I'm not super sold on it, but like maybe it'll improve in the future. Because right now, if I were to rate it right now based on having seen one episode that's on Max, I would say this is a on our scale a 2 out of 4. Like if you're a Rick and Morty fan, and even then, I would think that if you're a Rick and Morty fan, you probably would not enjoy how different this is from the source material. But I think there is something there where there is a niche audience who will enjoy this, especially people who enjoy that style of anime, because it feels like the way they play with silence and the way they just hang, like they'll just hang on a shot and just move, and it's deliberate and it's slow paced. That all works very well for this show. Do I think everyone will resonate with that? Almost certainly not. I don't think this show is for everyone. And at that point, the question is, why are you doing this with Rick and Morty? Why not do this as a new IP? It is what it is. Um, so maybe by the end it'll improve. But I think that the key thing you need to have for Rick and Morty to really be successful is that dynamic between Rick and Morty. And this first episode was sorely missing that. Um, but before we wrap up, I do have one other thing that I want to talk about. And, I've been rewatching regular Rick and Morty as I play through games for the YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/at MWP News, every Friday we have a Nuzlocke part. So I think we're up to part 10 or part 11 right now of Pokemon Red. After that, we're going to move on to Pokemon Gold, doing another randomized Nuzlocke where we randomize all the encounters and all of that. So as I'm playing through games for that, because I'm also playing through a few other games to do videos for YouTube as quickly as I possibly can. But as I do that, I am also I'm watching Rick and Morty. That's my show I wanted to rewatch. And just for ambient noise, kind of. Because it was like I finished Seinfeld, and I'm like, let me go back to Rick and Morty, then we'll find something else. And in season 1, which is where I am right now, maybe they retcon this at some point. But, I mean, they do retcon it because they do totally change it, but I don't think they ever give an explanation for how it's retconned. Like, the dead wife thing for Rick, where Rick's wife gets killed by Rick Prime, and Beth's mother gets killed by Rick Prime. The issue I have with this is, like, in season 1, like, Beth does not get raised by Rick. Rick left for most of her life, and her mom raised her. Like, do they ever explain that? Or, like, maybe I just missed it. Like, but throughout all of season 1, it's like, because, like, even in the episode, like, the last episode I watched was the one where, with the flu awareness dance. And, she says to Jerry, it's like, no, fuck him. He left my mother, and he abandoned me and my mother. It's like, but that's not the case. Like, he blew her up. Like, she got blown up by Rick Prime, or she got killed by Rick Prime. Like, later on in the show. Like, I don't mind a retcon. You could retcon that if you want, but I don't remember there being an explanation, like, in universe for that change. And maybe I'm wrong. It's possible, but it is what it is. We'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be, let me look at the calendar. Um, our next episode, we're gonna catch up with some of the movies I missed because I've been kind of busy the last few weeks. We are gonna be doing definitively, the romance movie that just came out. I think we're gonna do that on Friday, but we'll see. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.